Hey guys, in this video we're going to go ahead and install Node.js in Windows, and we're going to just create a very simple server program that you can actually find on the About page of the Node website. Alright, so first thing you want to do is on the home page just choose the recommended version and just go ahead and save that. It should be an MSI file. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and just open that. So click Run. Okay, and you should get a setup window like this, and we're just going to click Next and accept the terms. Okay, the default folder is going to be in your program files, Node.js, and for this we're going to just go ahead and click Next, Install, and that should go ahead and install it. Alright, so it says that Node has successfully been installed. We click Finish and it should be all set. So now I'm going to open up a command line. Now I don't have a taskbar on this monitor, but I'm just going to click in my search box and just type in CMD, and I'm going to run my command prompt. Okay, once that's open, you should be able to say node-v, and that'll give you the current version. And if you want to check npm, you can do that as well, and that'll give you the current version. Now you can run JavaScript files in the command line with Node. So let's say on my desktop, I'm just going to create a document, and we'll call this hello.js. And if I open that up, I'm just going to simply say console.log hello world and save it. And then in my command line, I'm going to navigate to my desktop. And I'm going to say node and then the name of the file, which is hello. And there we go, we get hello world. Okay, so you can run JavaScript inside of your console. Now, if you use browser-based functions and objects, that's not going to work. For instance, if we say window.alert and we try and run that, we're going to get an error. Okay, window's not defined because window is browser-based. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is just create a very simple server application. So if I'm just going to delete that. And then we're going to create a folder, and we'll call it Node Server. Okay, now when you build a Node application, you want to create a package.json file, which is basically a manifest file. It has the application name, the version, the description, and then it also has all the dependencies, a list of all the modules and packages that your application includes. And every time you run npm install, if you add a -- save onto it, it'll get saved inside of that file. And then what you can do is when you distribute it, you don't take the node modules folder, just simply list your dependencies, and then when they run npm install, those will install automatically. Alright, so we could manually create package.json, but there's a better way to do it, and that's using the npm init command. So I'm going to cd into the node server folder, and then I'm going to run npm init. And that's just going to ask a few questions. Here's the name of the application, the version, and whatever's in parentheses will be the default if you just click enter. Description, I'm going to say simple server. Entry point, this is the name of the file. I'm going to call it server.js. And then for the rest, author, feel free to put your own name in there. And ask if it's okay, yes. And now that should create. So now if we look over here, we have our package.json. And if I open that up, it just has all the stuff that we just added. So now what we want to do is create that server.js file. So we'll go ahead and create a new text document and call it server.js. Okay, and if we open up that file, close that. Alright, so server.js. Now, in most cases, I would use something like Express because it has a lot more features, routing and stuff like that. But we're just going to use the very simple HTTP module just to create a very, very basic web server. So the first thing we're going to do is bring in that module. So we'll create a variable called HTTP and set that to require HTTP. Okay, and let's create a couple other variables. This is going to be our host. So we're going to set that to our loopback address, which is 127.0.0.1. And the port, we're going to set that to 3000. Get rid of that. Alright, and then we'll create a variable called server. And we're going to set that to that HTTP module, and we're going to call the create server function. Okay, and then inside here we'll put a callback, and that's going to take in a request and response. And then what we're going to do is set the status code of the response. So res.status code, and set that to 200, which means success, everything's okay. Then we're going to set the header, so say res.setHeader, and we want to pass in the content type. Actually, let's make that uppercase T. So content type, and we're going to set it to text-plain. Okay, and then let's do res.end, and we'll just pass in hello world. Okay, so that's our server. Now we need to call the listen function. So server.listen, and in here we're going to pass in that port variable we created along with the host, and then a callback function. Okay, and then all we're going to do here is say console.log, and we'll say server running on port, and then we're just going to concatenate that port variable. Alright, and that's it. So we'll save that, and the name of the file is server, so we're going to say node server, and it says server running on port 3000. So if we go to our browser now, and we could go to 127.0.0.1, or we can go to just localhost and port 3000. And there we go, we get our hello world. Okay, so essentially what we've done here, let's go back to the file. We used create server, which does just that. Okay, then we took our response and set the code to 200, which means okay. We then set the header to have the content type be text/plain, and then we just ended the response and just sent out the text hello world. Okay, and then we called listen, which runs that server, and it just logged to the console. Alright, so this isn't very helpful. I mean, we do have a server, it's running, but all it's doing is spitting out this text. So usually we'd want to load some kind of file. So I'm going to show you how we can load an HTML file through our server. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the file system module. Okay, just like we did in the slide in the last video. And we're actually going to use that same read file function. So we'll go right here and let's say fs.readFile. Okay, pass in the file we want, which is going to be index.html, and the // just means the current directory. Alright, and if you remember, that gets a callback function, and we're going to pass in error and the data, which I'm going to call HTML, and then we'll just check for the error. So we'll say if error, then let's just do console.log error. And we'll also just return. Alright, so if there's not an error, then we want to do all this. So we're going to grab that and cut it. This is all done in the callback because it's asynchronous. Okay. Now we just want to go down here and we're going to get rid of the hello world. We're going to keep the res.end, but just get rid of that text. And then we'll say res.write, and we want to write that HTML. Okay, that's coming in from up here. So let's save that. Now if we just reload, nothing's going to happen because we need to restart the server. Alright, and when I restart the server, we're going to get an error. Okay, and what it's telling us is that there is no index.html file, which there isn't. So we're going to go and create that. Okay, we'll open that up and let's put just some standard HTML tags. And in the title, we'll just say Node Server. We'll say hello from the server. Alright, so save that. Let's run Node Server again. You can see that it's running on port 3000. We go and we reload, and it gives us the file, but it's not parsing our HTML. And the reason for that is if we look in our server file here and we look at the content type, it's text plain. Alright, we don't want that. We want text HTML. Okay, so we'll go and restart the server and reload the page, and now you can see it's parsing the HTML. Okay, so it's now loading our page. So you've now created a very simple server application that loads an HTML file. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video, and I'll see you in the next.